Ba, 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 ba. Still working on that 40 that I opened up 3 weeks ago, motlicker. Oh, man. I was thinking about the biodome. But it got me thinking about movies, but the biodome with Pauly Shore. But when they first built the biodome, I was really, really interested. And it was a really good idea. And if you know me, you know that I am into utopias. I did a video series of earltopia, where the idea, what's the perfect system for an imperfect environment, and it has to thrive on not only fixing things but valuing the lesson that something going wrong teaches you to how can it be improved? How can we find people that are experts that recognize these systems, and how could they be improved? And that leads to greater development and a more specific, refined system. And that leads to even more people becoming even better experts at a wide variety, engineer style, at a wide variety of different things taking place. And then you start getting a masterclass level, rugby, of the value of mistakes. It should never be, oh no, something went wrong. It should be, oh good, something went wrong. Motlicker. Because there's things that sometimes things go wrong, and the reason why they're maintained is because the development there is not to improve that particular system so it's at a higher level of functioning. The response is if this board on a bridge is starting to crack, the response is so step over that board. That's the kind of how we fix things a lot of the times. And it's interesting that when someone figures something out that works really, really well on a small scale or a really large scale, that it's dismissed. I think that the United States is a wonderful example of different states having different laws and different ways to go about things. And someone's got sawn down a tree, and one state will come up with something that's fucking brilliant, and it works really well. And man, it has to be almost a flick touchdown from 99 yards before some states God, I don't know, really, should we do that? It's that should be automatic. Let's think about laws that don't function or laws that are never used. Those shouldn't just stay on the books. A law that isn't used or a law that is broken, all you have to do then, you don't even have to well, should we get rid of this law? Just don't use that law and then that law will expire, kind of thing. But I was thinking about one of the things I was thinking about utopia is on a larger scale, but what about on a micro scale? Because I've seen people create them. It's the classic, what can you provide outside of your environment for the least amount of effort that gets the greatest amount of gain that floods into your ecosystem? It's all you need to do is figure out how you can do something that lots of people want to throw a huge amount of money at you. And one of the ones I saw was a couple that raised oysters. They had oyster beds in the ocean, and they basically just lived out in the middle of nowhere and started turning their home into like a tree fort. Like their home just expands with these fun little funky buildings and bright colors and bridges and windows and arches and tunnels and fucking great. Another guy did it with teaching classes. God, there was another guy that kind of did it with making bows. But the guy teaching classes about boat making, God, he was so happy with his life. It almost made me a little angry. It did make me a little angry, actually. He was just like every day, like he walked out his door and like rose petals like fluttered past him. There was people that bought some property and they're doing different things, this, that, or the other thing, and they had some money. But this one lady wanted to raise rabbits, and she didn't think about it too much. She's just like, "How much for that rabbit?" And this person's like, "Oh, this rabbit, it's $500." She's like, "Okay, I'll take 10." Ooh, and why are those rabbits so expensive? Because you sell their meat. It's a specific kind of rabbit, and you sell their meat by the ounce for like, $100 per ounce, stuff like that. And restaurants buy them at a year old. So you raise this rabbit and then you sell it, for $1,000. I don't know. I'm throwing numbers out there, but I don't know. And she just thought they were cute. And then someone found out that she had them in like a restaurant, and they're like, I'll give you, an insane amount of money for the rabbits. And he's like, we buy 6-month-olds for this much money. We buy 1-year-olds for this much money. And she's like, oh, mine are like 2 or 3. And the guy's like, I haven't even heard of anybody raising these rabbits to 3 years old. He's like, I don't even know how much money I should be paying, how much money I should be giving you for that. She's like, whatever. I don't know. One thing I like about the micro utopia is I think that it takes some planning. Like obviously you gotta like I'm interested in selling this, but like a lot of times it seems like it comes from a passion, and I imagine the raising the oyster things might have been like these people's passion for living along the sea, and probably hearing about like oyster beds, or maybe they even bought property and the person there like had oyster beds and they're like, let's take those over. I've heard of that too, like people buying land and there's like something already growing on it. Kind of makes me think about cowardice, like, pardon me, I was so brave when I was younger, and as I get older I just realize I've lost that sense of bravery. Someone said it once, they're like, at some point, I know what it was in the Patrick O'Brien books, they're like, at some point in time your massive amount of confidence has to confront a lifetime of memories of just naturally making mistakes. Like having bad judgment is part of, like, that's what I was talking about earlier, about like mistakes are a good thing, and that it then refines your behavior into a better sense of what's a good idea and bad idea. But the in the dark tea time of your soul, though, you look back at all those mistakes you made and you think, fuck, man, like, maybe I'm not as smart as I think I am. Maybe I'm not as capable as I think I am. Maybe I'm really, really lucky, actually. I could think of a couple of times in my life, well, when things got bad, Um, but during those times when things got bad, you're close to the edge of of a possibility, like I guess like something could happen that you don't really recover from. Well, I don't know. Anyway, I dream about going to raise oysters, or teaching classes of boat making, or like one guy that he seemed a little grumpy though. He was making bows, and he was like so busy making bows, and people were like ordering them from all around the world. And he's like, "I'll just double the price, and that way, like I could work on the weekends, like I started to work on the weekends, but now I got all these orders packing up, and I get home after work, and I got to work in the evening on these bows because people are like, hey, when am I getting my bow? Doubling the price did nothing. Quadrupling the price did nothing. Uh, then he just named like an impossible figure, and that brought things down to him being able to quit his job and working year round on these bows. And he's like, I'm really charging them. I should charge more just so I could work less. But he's like, I'm charging as much as my conscience could possibly let me. Like, 1 cent more, and you just feel like he's just robbing people. He was a little less happy, though. I think he was happy. Yeah, I think he was a little curmudgeon-y. Mm. There was a time when I wanted to raise fish. See, I've seen people do that on like kind of like a man-made kind of way. Like probably the best one I saw was in Hawaii, because they had these tanks that they could actually disassemble, and the water was used to raise produce, and there's a high demand for produce in Hawaii, and so like even the wastewater was good, but like it looked like a lot of work. And then I saw this guy have like two ponds, and I can't remember why the two pond thing was important, but maybe one's a hatchery and one's for like, I don't know. Maybe you bounce back and forth, but he just stocked these ponds and sold fish. And why they were talking about like a bird, some sort of like hawk or something, like swooped down and pulled one of his fish out. And the guy's like, "Oh man, does that bother you to watch some of your money fly away?" And he's like, "No, that's a good thing." He just literally said, "No, that's a good thing." Just like I was like, "Fuck, that's cool." Oh man, wouldn't that be nice? That's what I liked about crabbing. You throw a crab pot on out in the water, and then you sit and watch the ocean for a bit, and then after a while you check your watch and like, oh, I should pull that up, and it's got crabs, and you eat crabs that night. Motlicker. Oh, all right. God damn, that's a long one. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.